vision, leadership, workplace-related topics. The Voices of Victory podcast show. Subscribe today. Let's go.
Vision, leadership, self-esteem, workplace-related topics.
Subscribe.
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory.
Vision,
Voices of Victory.
leadership,
Voices of Victory.
workplace-related topics.
The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
Hello and welcome to the Voices of Victory podcast. I am your host, Mario Di Leone, and we're going to talk about shutting down. When someone shuts you down, or if you shut them down, how does that look? What does that look like? Let's go over it. Let's go over it right now. We're going to talk about when someone shuts you down, like how we could work through that. And it's going to happen. You're going to get people that try to shut you down. Shutting down is kind of like a person having the last word without actually having the last word. They're just, shutting down quietly. They're frustrated. Sometimes it just signals that they're frustrated. It doesn't constitute that it's always the last word, but they could be really upset and frustrated. And let's talk about it. It's authentic and strategic, and you can fit your leadership in terms of understanding emotional agency. Give people the choice. That's a framework, a way that you could perceive and look at the situation. So when someone shuts you down, it's so important to have what I call emotional sovereignty. Emotional sovereignty means to rule over, like a king would rule over a kingdom. So emotional sovereignty is when you rule over your emotions. Now, we can indeed walk the line between self-leadership and human connection. And that's a hard-earned insight, one hard-earned insight at a time. And today's episode is about something that hits all of us eventually when someone tries to shut you down or go silent. You reach out, maybe even with vulnerability, maybe just with presence, and nothing, or worse, a cold door where warmth once actually lived. So let's talk about what to do when that happens, because silence is indeed speaking. It is part of communication. To use silence as a tool in conversation, but to also use silence in terms of someone shutting you down, that's more of the negative way that it's used. The sting of silence, literally, it could be someone you actually love, someone you trust, a friend, someone you care about, maybe something more, and out of nowhere this energy just drops, boom, and the lights are out. Here's the thing, silence is a language in and of itself, but it's not always about you. Now, I'm not talking about holding silence in a conversation, because there are times where silence has a lot of power and silence is golden, as they say. But there's fear with some people. They have unfinished business, and sometimes it's just immaturity dressed in avoidance. But let's get practical. What can you say when someone shuts you down? Let's go over a few different ways with some gentle inquiry of how you can actually open or reopen communication. So one of the phrases you could actually say is, "Hey, I noticed you went quiet. Is everything okay?" And you could ask people when they're angry, "Are you okay?" Don't ask too much because you don't want to annoy the hell out of them, but just ask them and be quiet. Say nothing after that. That's where you use your silence. Now, if you say, "Are we okay?" Some people do that, but you don't have to assume, don't assume that. Don't go and assume that. You can ask them, "I noticed you went quiet." You can stop it right there and just wait, be quiet and wait. Another one is, "I'm here if you're ready to talk." You can even say, "I'm here if or when you're ready to talk." Or you can say, "Not sure what happened, but I'm open to hearing your side if you wish to share." So you see, have a little bit of silence of your own after each one of these, because your silence is a strategic tool as well. And just give them eye contact. If they avert their eye contact and don't want to look at you in the eyes, that could signal that, they're frustrated, they're upset, maybe they're feeling a little resentful on the inside. So that's the whole point I want to bring to the table. You could say, "I see the distance right now and I care. I'm not here to attack. I'm here to understand." And you could trail off with, "Help me understand." Now, when it comes to honest reflection, kind of naming your quote unquote experience, you can go as far as saying, "Hey, when you shut me down like that, it leaves me feeling confused. You see? And then there's that silent pause afterwards, right? Or I felt a bit dismissed when our conversation ended like that. Now, another way you could put it is, hey, I don't need a full explanation, but some acknowledgement would mean a lot right now. Now, what's powerful about these phrases is they state that you're not pretending that it didn't impact you or didn't affect you. You're also not blaming them. You're revealing. You are actually revealing. Now, when it comes to boundary setting, that's a different ball of wax because boundary is about protecting your energy. You got to remember, when I mean protecting your energy, it's not some esoteric concept. It's protecting where you put your energy, where you put your time, resources, schedule. You can say, in terms of boundaries, I respect your space, but silence can feel like a wall. And look them dead in the eye. Hold no aversion of the eyes, directly into the eye, and you can say, I won't chase after clarity if it's not mutual. And again, look them directly in the eye. And you could also say, I'm also going to step back if that's what you need, and that's the whole thing. Some people will go as far as bringing up the word ghosted. I don't like to do that because it just automatically throws up red flags and connotations. So just leave that one alone. And another thing you could say is, if silence is your choice, I'll take that as information and just go forward accordingly. Let me say that again. If silence is your choice, I'll take that as information and go forward accordingly. So what these actually say is, I'm not here to beg for your breadcrumbs of communication. I'm going to be direct with you, and I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be authentic with you. You're expressing that your energy is valuable too. Now, when it comes down to strategic silence, responding with stillness, that's what you can do after a lot of these phrases. And sometimes the strongest response is your non-response. Sometimes silence isn't a weakness. It's actual protection. It's dignity. When you've done your part and someone chooses to disappear or chooses to avoid you or chooses to shut down repeatedly, you don't owe them a final word. You owe yourself peace. So some final thoughts with all this is that silence doesn't mean defeat. It's a doorway to your sovereignty. Remember, we talked about ruling over, right? It's a sovereignty for choice. Ruling over your choices, what we call your agency. Agency is providing you with that choice. Ask yourself, do I need closure, or do I just need to honor what this moment is bringing as an insight? Because sometimes the fire you lit in someone else, it goes cold, and that's not your fault. You gotta remember, everybody has their own interpretation of reality. Everyone has their own life script that they're running. Everybody has their own lens in which they see the world. And sometimes it isn't love. Alice notably said something. They said, a lesson. It's a lesson. It's a mirror. It's a turning point. And whatever it is, don't feel the need to chase silence. Chase clarity. Chase alignment. And let alignment chase you. So thank you for walking through this today with me. If this episode has helped, pass it on to someone you know. You never know. And just remember, even in the quiet spaces, you're never alone, because this is the Voices of Victory podcast, and you are your greatest ally. Until next time, I'm Mario. Stay sovereign, stay awake, stay victorious, stay in the silence, and most of all, enjoy your day.